First item on the agenda is approval of the agenda. I'll move it. I'll second the motion by Raddick then. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Items 2 through 7 constitute a consent agenda of routine action items to be considered by one motion. Items passed unanimously unless a separate vote is requested by a board member. Item 2 is approval of the minutes of the December 10th meeting. Item 3 is approval of the claims. Item 4 from the Board of Supervisors, myself, is to authorize the chairman to sign letter of support for Camp High Hopes and their application to Iowa Economic Development Authority's Community Attraction and Tourism Grant. For point of information, they did request a separate letter from the county and assisted in drafting that. Item 5 from Building Services is approval of items to be auctioned per personal property disposition policy. Item 6 from Planning and Zoning is approval of resolution thanking Ashley Christensen for her years of service on the Board of Adjustment. Item 7 from Human Resources includes A, approval of memorandum of personnel transactions, B, approval of retiree requests to remain on the PPO single and county dental insurance with spouse. C is approval for the chairman to sign the 2025 Innovative Benefit Consultants Plan Renewal. And D is approval of the investment advisory agreement with Creative Planning. Any questions on the consent agenda?
I'll move it.
I'll second the motion by Taylor. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. We're a bit ahead of our set time, so we'll move, next item on the agenda is item 8 from Board of Supervisors, Mr. Nelson. This is approval to move the December 31st meeting time from 4:30 PM to 9:30 AM.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just very briefly, the last day of the year falls on a Tuesday, and we were scheduled to have a regular board meeting. That's also New Year's Eve. We also had talked about swearing in the new elected officials at that meeting. I just visiting with a lot of people see New Year's Eve as a holiday. Some people might want to take, half day, leave early. I'm just trying to be considerate of our employees and department heads who may want to take off at the end of the day and not hang out with us in the courthouse, as much fun as we are. And so I'm just offering that we move the board meeting to 9:30 that morning. We do have a judge that's available to do the swearing in at 9 o'clock. That's correct, or 9:15. So we can still do that ahead of time, and I believe the candidates are all available for that. Open up for discussion.
Makes no difference to me personally. Any other input?
That works for me. I like that. Works for you guys?
Works for you? Okay, so we've confirmed availability for the judge at 9:15 or 9 o'clock, somewhere around there? Okay. Okay. Right after that, we're all at Mr. Nelson's house for a New Year's Eve party. It starts at 11 a.m. Just kidding.
And make sure you stick around for when I start chores at 4 p.m. So
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. It's kind of a bummer. We were going to have a big New Year's Eve, ball drop, in the atrium and all that. And oh well. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. All right.
I'm sorry, I missed who motion and second on that?
I'll make the motion.
I'll second the motion. Apologies. Karen, we'll keep the same deadline for agenda items on the preceding Thursday at noon because we're open on Thursday. Okay. Thank you. We are at our 4:35 PM set time, which is item 9. It's from Board Administration. This is a public hearing and sale of property parcel, also known as 5201 Hamilton Boulevard. The public hearing is now open for anyone who wishes to speak for or against the sale of this property. Is there anyone to speak for or against before we receive bids?
My name is Paul Riffey. I live at 5203 Hamilton. Just makes sense to buy it. So
Okay.
I'll take it at the minimum bid.
Great. Well, before we take that bid, I'll move to close the public hearing.
Second.
Second by Nelson. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. So now, sir, you may bid on the property.
Sorry. I'll take the minimum bid at, to what, 234?
234, yep. Is there anyone else to bid on this property? Seeing none, I'll move the property be sold for $234 to Mr. Rivy.
I'll second that.
Second by Radig. Hearing no discussion. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Item 10 from the Board of Supervisors, Mr. Radig, is approval of letter of support for the CERTS Raise grant application. Mr. Radig.
Sure thing. As outgoing chairman of CERTS, we did build a new building with a previous grant opportunity from Department of Transportation, and now see, a lot of our buses that weren't able to be covered by the original size facility that was planned due to inflation. So we're asking for more bus storage here at our existing facility, and also a satellite location in our second largest base of operations, which is Lamar's. 30% of the ridership from CERTS is based out of that area. And as a big part of CERTS, Woodbury County should support their grant application. So I put this letter of support on here, and if you have any questions, just let me know.
I'll move it.
Second?
Motion by Bittinger, second by Taylor. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Item 11 from Secondary Roads includes A, for action, award the bid for Breezy Farm rental for 2025, 26, and 27 to the high bidder for cash rent of 41 acres.
We received 2 bids for this. This bid is from Bruce Williams of Correctionville, Iowa, for $315 per acre, $12,915 per year for crop years 2025, 26, and 27. And the second one. This one is Kyle Schnickloth from Cushing, Iowa, and that is for $400 per acre, which is $16,400 for those 2025, 26, and 27. Okay, so we would recommend the high bidder of Kyle Schneckloth for $400 per acre.
I'd move it.
I'll second the motion by Taylor.
We got to receive them first?
Oh,
I don't know if this is formally posted as a bid opening process. We just,
We're awarding the bids,
okay.
so. Should just go ahead and, all you'd have to do is award the bid.
Yeah, so we're just awarding the bid today. Any other input on, say, the amount or?
oh yeah, and Mark said that it was $350 per acre last year, so a little bit more, or last time they bid it.
Correct.
Okay. Good. Any other comments? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Item B is approval of the final voucher for project Perrin 145 with LA Carlson Contracting.
Yeah, that was a project that was let in 2021, and it was a stream bank mitigation on D12 over the West Fork, Little Sioux. And so again, just looking for signature from the Board of Supervisors on the final voucher of the project.
I'll second the motion by Radig. Any discussion?
What was the delay on that one? It was bid out 21.
Oh, usually this is just the paperwork that takes a while to get done.
Audit has been fine.
Any,
I think we only own $1. So it was just very good.
any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Item C is approval of plans for project Perrin 151.
Yeah, so a little bit about this project. Sorry, I always lose my sheets. So we are going to replace a bridge. This is north of Lawton, just off of K49 on 110th Street, to the west of K49. The bridge existing is a 26 by 28 concrete slab built in 1967. It does see quite a bit of traffic. We got 628 vehicles a day on the road, and it is already posted at one truck at a time. It will be paid with federal funds, and it's in our March lettings for DOT. It would be a DOT March letting, so looking for that approval for the plans.
I'll second the motion by Radig. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Thank you. Item 12 from Conservation is discussion and action on Browns Lake restroom / shower boiler replacement as a emergency repair.
Dan Heisel, Woodbury County Conservation. I'm here today to discuss a boiler that has been giving us problems for the last 3 years. I've been trying to patch it and make it limp along. I've budgeted for it on CIP the last couple of years, and it's never made it through the process. And I found that out after talking to Kenny when the boiler went down. Our biggest fear, if we don't replace it now, we'll have frozen pipes on the interior of that shower house restroom tornado shelter. This was before Dan, but that was designed that the center room, which has all the water softeners and all that stuff in there, is not drained during the winter. It stays heated, and the rest of it is heated floors. Well, with the leaks we've had to replace the glycol with water and try and zone it, and they finally zoned it and figured out it's inside the boiler itself. It's a cracked heat exchanger, internal heat exchanger, that's going bad, and there's no fixing it, and we need to replace it. To me, it's an emergency because if that fails and those pipes freeze, we lose everything inside, plus all the heat in the floor. The heating in the floor is a benefit to us because it keeps the floors dry, which is a slipping hazard, which our insurance company would probably be happy that we don't have slipping hazards, but it also keeps the mold and mildew down by keeping the floors dry. And a side benefit is the campers have warm feet in the showers. So, right here, I was talking to, so when I ran into that problem, I was talking to Kenny, and then I called our new budget director and deputy auditor and whatever other hat she wears, and talked to her about it, and she says, the only thing I can advise you is I believe I have money left in the gaming that they could look at if they so choose. So she told me to get on the agenda, so here I am. Because I do not have the money in my CIP. Our building maintenance item in our general basic side of it is almost depleted. I didn't want to spend it out of there and then come in the spring and ask for an amendment. I mean, so that's why I'm here. We need to get it fixed ASAP, and I'm asking for that. So any questions?
So that $12,849, that's tax title out the door? Is that everything, installation?
Well, they said if they have to, right now they've got a diluted solution in the floor. because it's been water. They haven't
Yeah.
been replacing the glycol because it was leaking. I can afford the cost of the extra glycol probably. So this is the boiler coming in, installed, and they walk out the door. And if they have to add glycol, they'll have to come out of my budget.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah, so right now in gaming, we have roughly 280,000 in unallocated funds for fiscal year '25. So,
I got no issue with it.
yeah.
It's a nice building. We'd like to keep it that way.
I'll move it.
I'll second the motion by Bidinger. Hearing no other discussion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0.
Thank you. I don't want to be that guy, but while I have your attention, I had another emergency come up. Should I come back next week? Seriously, I had a septic system fail, and the residence that's Little Sioux Park, that's a $15,000 bill. So, if you want to entertain that, I will get on the agenda and come back, but it's just,
It sounds like that would be appropriate.
so.
Yeah.
I will
Sounds
do
like
that. I know it wasn't on the agenda, but I just figured while I had you for a second, I'd see if it's feasible, and we'll discuss it, and we'll see where we go from there, but, so. All right, thank
Okay.
you, appreciate it.
Thank you. All right. Item 13 from the Deputy County Auditor is to discuss and approve reallocation of ARPA funds.
Would you like me to go over there, or is this okay?
That's okay with me.
All right. So we discussed in a prior meeting that we need to obligate all of the ARPA funds by December 31st of this year. So I reviewed the ARPA funds, and we do have an amount left in the ARPA 10, which was for administration, of $19,300. I've reviewed that, and that was intended to be spent for the Baker Group and UHY. In the last calendar year, we've only spent $3,600 out of that part of the ARPA projects. And in the last quarter, we've only spent $400. So the bills to UHY, when I've emailed them a question here or there, are about $100 or $200. So I would propose reallocating those funds, so at the end of the 2 years that we have to spend them, we'll actually spend them for some of the current county needs. If we do have expenses for UHY or the Baker Group, I'd propose that we pull that out of the board administration budget or some other source, since we're not really using those funds very quickly. I spoke with some of the departments, and the sheriff's in the need of 5 tasers, which are a cost of $18,466.80. So I would propose to reallocate towards those tasers for a new ARPA project. And then there's a summary in the background of a few small amounts that I just want to kind of clean up some of those ARPA that we've overexpended by pennies, which Dennis would hate. But just so that we match our reporting to the Department of Treasury, I'm just moving a few of those funds around a little bit. But that's all pretty clear in the homework there. So I just propose to move this to a new ARPA. We'll call it ARPA 27, if you'd like to discuss that, and if you have any other options to entertain. I did look at some of the CIPs that the sheriff's office and some other departments have that may be appropriate for ARPA. The one CIP, the sheriff's office, was going to be a recurring cost, so it wouldn't really be a fix for that, because that's going to be an ongoing thing that'll probably need to be budgeted in the future for some of their things, and they thought that the tasers would be the most useful at this time.
Probably get it on a septic system if you'd have broke it last week.
That's what we were just saying. I wanted to raise my hand, but I thought I have asked too much already today.
Well, I just want to say good work on that. It was something, I thought we should do a review before time to pay out the final payment. So this cleans it all up, and I'm all good with that. I would move the approval.
Second?
Motion by Raddick, second by Bittinger. I'd echo that. It's a good thing we're getting all the ducks in a row and using all this appropriately. So, any other discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Passes 5-0. Item 14 is reports on committee meetings.
We had the last Simcoe Board of Directors meeting for the year, put in new officers for the upcoming year. So I think it's Mayor Hinton is taking my place as the secretary, so, but that was good. Good run.
Had a conservation board meeting out Dorothy Pico on Thursday, and we talked about this expense that we just approved tonight. And, you know, if you've never been down to the Browns Lake and taken in that shower, concession and everything, it's a great building. So I'm glad that hopefully you can get it replaced and make sure that we don't freeze down there. So thanks for bringing that forward, Dan. And then this afternoon, we had Law Enforcement Center Authority meeting. In that, we approved the hiring of a Cornerstone commissioning agent to come in and work on the testing and balancing issues and the HVAC issues. This would be a kind of a third-party bird's eye view over the system, and not only can help us fix some of these bugs, but also point the blame as to, are we working with design flaws here? Are we working with, you know, poor workmanship issues? And so this group has done work for the county before, came recommended from Kenny and Shane with Baker Group. So they're going to come in. We were able to pinpoint them exactly where some of these issues are. And so they're going to come in, sounds like mid-January, and get to work on that. The other thing that we approved was a contract with CW Suter. We have 3 rooms in the law enforcement center that do not have heat, that were designed without heat. And so that's it's a design flaw on Entroba's fault, or it's their fault. The good news is that there is boiler water that runs through those areas, and so we can attach hanging heaters to heat those areas relatively inexpensively. And so we've entered a contract with Suter to perform that work, and then we will be asserting those damages back to Entroba. It was $51,000 change. That money is going to come out of the FF&E budget of Kenny. And then on the commissioning side, that was a short $36,000, and that's going to come out of the Woodbury County Law Enforcement Maintenance Fund. Other than that, they're just continuing to work on some of the heating issues as they come throughout the building. The warranty items are getting done. I think 78% completion rate, so that's good. And there's not going to be a meeting on the 31st, New Year's Eve. So the next one will be in January. I'm not sure if it'll be that first week or the next one, but I'll give an update when I know. So, thank you.
I have a quasi-committee report, since I know the board discussed maybe having a future, dedication or gathering for the Dennis D. Butler boardroom upstairs. But in the meantime, just the other day, I got notice from Building Services that the bronze plaque has arrived, and so I just wanted to at least let people see this before it's hung at a future date. I think it came out extremely well, and very glad that it's going to be displayed. It's nice and heavy, and it carries some weight, as do all the memories of that room. So I look forward to confirming when exactly we'll put that up. I've already messaged his wife, and I'm waiting to hear back on availability for the family. I think they anticipated maybe an afternoon. So at some date that works for them and the board, we'll move forward with that. So came out really well, really well. All right, item 15 is citizen concerns. Any citizen concerns?
Hi, my name is Robin Shira. I live at 311 East Washington in Elk Point. I was just here in last meeting when Supervisor Nelson commented that the one Iowa team beat the other. Well, I went to Arizona State University and got my master's there in sustainability leadership, and I wanted to just comment that Arizona State beat the Iowa team, so thank you.
And I've been sulking ever since.
Doyle Turner, 2738 200 Street, Mobile. I would first of all like to say thank you for that plaque. That's really classy. And I think it shows a dedication to employees who have been very dedicated to us. And I just want to thank you for that. I did have a supervisor ask me about some of the things that we spoke about in other weeks. And I wanted to kind of go through that a little more. I don't want to speak for the auditor or Mr. Taylor, but in my opinion, when we look at what's going on at the LEC, we have a negative cash flow with the jail, which we fully would expect. But it's a sizable number. But we also have an enterprise that is showing a pattern of predicate acts against the county. And these acts are concerning not only from the money that it's costing the county, but also if we don't control this situation, it is going to affect us with our legal costs. It's going to affect the outcome of the legal case. We are also spending a lot of money on legal fees, and if we don't take care of these actions, I firmly believe that we aren't committed to winning this case. And so it comes to a point where if we're not going to take care of these actions, then stop spending the money on the lawyers, take the bite, because the worst case scenario is getting to a point where you spent the legal fees, you didn't win anything, so all we did was add costs to it. I think I don't give ultimatums, I give choices, and I think you have choices. And I'd really like to see the rest of the board step up and support Mr. Nelson and give him direction on how you would like to see him proceed at the LEC, and I think that needs to be public. To give you a prime example, our chairman had a legitimate claim against a union. And with the way things were handled, when it was all over and the dust settled, it was our chairman that ended up being convicted of something. This is how you handle these cases is just as important as the legitimate parts of the case itself. And I think if you're going to handle this case correctly, you're going to have to stand up to this enterprise that's taking advantage of the LEC, thus taking advantage of the county. And when you add all these things together, it is going to severely impact your reserves. You have to handle the negative cash flow. You don't have any choice. But these other things you have a choice on. And I think that getting ahead of the game and doing something, if you don't do anything, you go from being an unwilling participant in an enterprise to being an accessory. And I really strongly recommend that you stand up and you do something before you cross that line. Thank you.
Any other citizen concerns? Seeing none, item 16 is board concerns. Any board concerns? Mr. Radig?
I did want to take a second. We did have the opportunity to be interviewed and kind of say some of the things that, stuck out to us over the last 2 terms. And, first and foremost, I do want to thank all you as supervisors working together as a team. Also thank you to Marty and Rocky and Justin and Mark, who also served for a time over those 2 terms. Biggest issues, I think, obviously when we got here, mental health region was kind of the first and foremost issue. Then we had 24/7 paramedics in the LEC. The gravel roads was another major concern when we had our out in the county meetings. Doing all this while ending up with a lower levy than where we started. I'm very proud of that, and I thank you guys all for, and the other four mentioned, for working together as a team, and we did what was right for the county. I will miss the chips, they were out of Doritos, so I had to use the pretzels. I want to thank the staff, obviously, a lot of great department directors that I got to meet and know. I love how much you are concerned for your particular departments. Being in the position I am in, I didn't always get to say yes to everything you want, but the fact that you kept asking for more shows me you are very concerned about your position. Also want to thank all the secretaries that helped us look good, because without your help, I think we didn't get a lot done otherwise. So it's been a great couple terms, and look forward for you guys to see what you can do up here too, and just remember working together for Woodbury County, doing what's right for the taxpayer. That's what you'll be remembered for. So thank you.
Mr. Taylor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I just want to echo some of what Keith said. We did a couple of interviews that encourage people to listen to them. I think Chairman Ung, Mr. Radig, Pat Gill, and myself. And I just want to thank the staff as well. We have 400 incredible employees who do just awesome things, often unsung heroes. And whether it's grading a road or working in conservation for our quality of life, Veterans Affairs, in every office, just unbelievable dedication. And so really appreciative working with all of you and the 105,429 people that we serve. One thing, we haven't agreed on everything, but I think we agree on more than we disagree on. One of the things I think was really fitting and appreciative that you held it up is that we could honor somebody like Dennis and his memory. And so closing fitting for our time on the board, and appreciate each one of you. Thank you.
Mr. Nelson.
I just had two things here. In regards to the law enforcement center, and Doyle and I talked last week, and we disagree on some things and we agree on other things. And I think what's tough is that we're still hitting a moving target with a mechanical engineer firm that doesn't see this as a problem or how they're conducting themselves as a problem. And if you go back and watch the minutes of the meeting today, I asked publicly Shane Albrecht and Kevin Ross what their communication with Entroba has been the last 30 days, and they said even the architect who hired this firm has hardly been able to communicate with them. And so we're really bound by what they're willing to do for us, and they're not willing to do much at this point in time. And that's what makes this thing really difficult. And thank goodness we brought Corey on when we did. I talked about in the meeting today that we've surpassed 1 year of this ASI 10 issue, and we're closing in on 1 year that we've hired our own mechanical engineer. And that's really disgusting. And so all we can do is keep pushing forward. I think this commissioning agent is going to help with that. But we were at the union trades meeting last week, and we were talking about some of these issues, and it's really hard to talk to folks about the lack of communication and angst that Entroba has in facing any of these issues. So that makes that very hard. And the second thing I'd like to talk about is that, right, wrong, or otherwise, I think we've hired two really notable attorneys to help navigate the situation, and John Templard and Jody, and I'm going to listen to what they say, and I hope that I have faith in them that they're creating the best game plan for the county to recoup as much of the damages back as we can. And I think we need to stick by them and stick with what they have to say. And then lastly, and this has come up, when I first got on the authority, it was, talked about, where the money is going or auditing or whatever. And that's for the public to decide. As Doyle, said last week, it takes 100 people, and I'm not going to discourage anybody if they feel that they want the authority audited. That's totally fine. I'm not worried about anything, but I think it is interesting to note that, and for those that don't know, the authority doesn't have our own bank account. We don't have our own checks. It's all coming right through the county, right through the auditor's office. And so we've got a lot of dedicated people that are checking on this stuff every 2 weeks when we approve a claim. And So I do get a little sensitive that, we've got some really good people watching over this and making sure that the money is being spent, it's being spent on correct things. And so that's just all I want to talk about as far as the authority. But the other thing, while we got both of our engineers here, that I wanted to point out is we gave a permit to work in the right of way on Minnesota Avenue to that company to put the fiber in. And I urge you to go out and drive on Minnesota Avenue north of 150th Street. So that's 1.5 miles north of Highway 20. Evidently, their trencher or their dozer drove on the pavement, that asphalt, while it was hot. And you can actually see the line from like the edge of the track, but it actually has created rumble bars right on that edge where that one track would have driven. So just, that's probably too late, obviously, this year to do anything. Maybe it's not, but just something you need to be aware of. It's right past 150th as you start to go up that hill, and it's right where they were trenching this summer, so. Sure.
That happened my first week of work here. Mark was gone. And so I brought in a contractor that does that type of work. And they gave us an estimate. It was either $4,500 or $3,800. And then they also damaged some culverts. And we got estimates on that. I don't know. We billed the company $9,000. I don't know if I've received that check yet from them, but they did agree that they would pay that $9,000. And then I didn't really want to bring in a road repair company and pay another mobilization. So when we do our regular, like Denco was the company that gave me the estimate, when they come back in and do maybe a crack filling or something, that we would have them repair that work for us. So. That will be taken care of, but thank you for bringing that up. And I didn't ever bring it to you guys. I'm sorry, I should have. So, yeah.
I actually had someone, and I had noticed that, but I had some people call me that drive that, so I went and drove it. I was driving by there this week, and that's definitely what it was. I'd meant to tell you in passing, and I forgot, and looking at you, I remember that today, so I just wanted to make sure you knew about it because they did it, so I'm glad that we've already covered the damage on that. So
I'll get back to you guys and let you know that we did get that money from that company.
Sure. Yeah, the fiber's a great thing, but those guys are kind of rowdy. So anyway, that's all I have, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. Nothing. Yeah, I would just echo a lot of what Mr. Nelson said about the process on the LEC authority. And as I said at the opening of the LEC after substantial completion, the mechanism to fix a lot, really the mechanism to fix the issues we're facing is the LEC authority, and that code mandated process, which we are all going through and all dealing with. And the only thing worse than a 3-member board or authority or commission, what have you, is a 2-member. And fortunately, the one thing that is a positive is that the city and the county do have a voting majority on that authority, and proud of the work that Mr. Nelson's done there. I don't think he's brought anything especially confrontational for good reason. And there's a lot of different things that go on at the LEC meetings that are in regards to our forthcoming case or cases. And the most vital, integral people for that process, especially in a courtroom setting, would be those 3 individuals. And so that's what I want to remind the public, is that the county and the authority need to work together. As long as I have anything to say about it, we'll work together in order to recoup these claims as co-plaintiffs, and appreciate everyone moving in that direction, because it's not an easy lift to do the work and have to deal with, we're trying to, especially Mark, we're all trying to justify what needs to be justified in court. And so that's the dynamic we're dealing with when we deal with public updates and public comment is, the attorneys that are dealing with this are many, well compensated, yes, and deservedly so, because there is a lot of time and effort that goes into these letters. Tens of thousands of pages of documents have been generated around this, securing and documenting the county's interests. And so the efforts of these people, if there was anything that uncovered something that was actionable in a negative way, I would expect the attorneys that the LEC, the board, and the elected county attorney to identify. Those are the experts in this area. Any other board concerns?
And I'd just like to add one thing that I hear all the time, and I appreciate, there have been some great people here, and we've got some great people in Woodbury County that have some great businesses or great contractors and have been involved in big projects. And, they'll call me and they'll say, have you guys looked at doing this? And I appreciate when they call and do that, but what's been eye-opening to me is how these jobs are handled differently, public versus private. And there are so many things that private sector, if you're dealing with an incompetent engineer, things you can do that you cannot do on the private side or on the public side. And that's really frustrating. And I think it's been eye-opening to some of the people that have contacted me and said, hey, are you looking at this? Are you looking at this? Not an avenue we can go. And so to your point there, Matt, you didn't touch on it very much, but you kind of said it. I think there's a lot of things that I think need change as these projects are getting bigger and they're getting more intricate and the price tag is getting bigger, whether that's on the low bidder side or on the recoupment of some of these losses. There's things that I think need to change. And that's on us, new supervisors, and the public, that we are talking to these legislators and trying to demand some of these changes. And we're going to be in the driver's seat because we're unfortunately living this nightmare. But I hope that when we make a move, and I think that we've been committed to penning a letter talking about some of the changes we'd like to see, that the public will be there to support us and demand these same changes as well. So, thank you.
Any other board concerns? We are adjourned.